Hey y'all, it's Erin with Twirling down Main Street. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Go ahead and subscribe. And if you're not new, then welcome back. This is part 2 of my Walt Disney World Basics videos. I did a Universal Florida Basics series and I decided I wanted to do one for Walt Disney World. This video, I'm going to be talking about rides at Magic Kingdom. When you first walk into Magic Kingdom, you'll walk down Main Street, USA. And then from there, when you get to what is called the hub of Magic Kingdom, it's a large area in front of the castle. It's got a large circular part of Main Street, USA, and it's got spokes that go off of it if you're looking at a map. And these are walkways to the different lands in Magic Kingdom. So if you're standing in the hub, we're going to go clockwise around the park when we're talking about these rides. So first you'll turn left and enter Adventureland.
The first ride you'll come across isn't really a ride, it's more of an attraction, and this is a Swiss Family Treehouse. This is just a walkthrough of a giant tree that has various scenes from the Swiss Family Robinson treehouse, and it's pretty cool to walk through. You have gorgeous views of Magic Kingdom from this attraction. It is a lot of steps though, but it's really cool. Next to that is the Jungle Cruise.
This ride is a boat ride, and you'll go through the jungle with animatronic animals and characters, and your skipper, who is guiding the boat, will tell jokes and silly puns and everything. This ride is basically every dad's dream because it's just a whole bunch of dad jokes the whole time. It's in the process of being refurbished to bring it up to date a little bit, so I'm sure there'll be new jokes, and very excited to experience that. Right across from Jungle Cruise is the Magic Carpets of Aladdin. This ride is one that you sit in a magic carpet kind of, and then you fly around. It's like Dumbo, if you know what Dumbo is, and you can go up and down, and I think they rock back and forth depending on which levers you pull. There's also a camel that will spit at you. I think if it's cold, they won't run the camel. They tend to turn the water off if it's cold, but just know that if it's a hot day, there is a camel and you might get wet on this ride. Right near that is the Enchanted Tiki Room, which isn't really a ride, it's more like a show. This is where the term animatronic came from, was Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room. This show is, I don't know, kids might not like it that much. I feel like it's more of just a nostalgic type show. It has animatronic birds, and there's catchy music and flowers that sing and everything. And it's really cool historically because that was the first time that the animatronic figures were used, was this attraction. Further into Adventureland is the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. This ride is another boat ride. It follows the story of the Pirates of the Caribbean. Actually, the movie came after the ride, and then the ride was kind of rethemed to fit and added in some of the characters from the movie. It's kind of scary for kids, I would think. There's some scenes where it's pretty dark, and there's seems to be gunshots firing at you and cannons and stuff. You also might get wet on this ride, not a ton, just a little bit, but just know that it is a water ride and there's cannon splashes and things. Next up is Frontierland, and the first ride you'll come across is Splash Mountain. This ride is at some point getting a refurbishment and a retheming to Princess of the Frog, but right now it has characters Brer Rabbit, Brer Fox, and Brer Bear, which a lot of people don't know these characters, so I understand why they're doing a refurbishment, but it is a water flume ride. And right now it has catchy music. I know when it goes to Princess and the Frog theme, it will have catchy music because Princess and the Frog has some great music. And I'm sure it'll be a whole lot more relatable for kids when it does get rethemed to that. You will get wet on this ride. That's all I have to say, is you are going to get wet. It's a large drop, but it's a whole lot of fun. Right next to that is Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, which is probably my favorite ride in Magic Kingdom. It's a roller coaster, but it's really tame. I have a POV, which POV is a point of view ride along type video. I will link that down below, but I love Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. It is a great coaster for kids or adults that don't like big coasters. Going more counterclockwise, you'll come across Country Bear Jamboree, which we went to for the first time a month ago. It was interesting. It's a show with animatronic bears that sing, but you probably don't know any of the songs, and they were jokes that I think went over kids' heads. It was interesting. It was funny. As an adult, it was funny. As a kid, I would probably just be like, what is this? And that's really all I have to say about that. You can probably look up YouTube videos on that if you're trying to figure out if that's something that you want to do or not. Usually it doesn't have a long wait. And if it's cold outside or raining or anything, it would be something nice to do. Next up is Liberty Square, which, fun fact, this area of the park actually does not have any restrooms in it because that would not be in keeping with the theme and the correctness of Liberty Square since they didn't have restrooms. And if you're walking through this area, part of the pavement is like a reddish color, and then there's, I call it a river of like stone pavement kind of. That's to symbolize where they used to throw their chamber pots out, and there would just be like sewage running through the street. So, fun fact about Magic Kingdom, they went so far to include the sewage. Of course, it's not actually sewage, but it's pretty cool, I think, that they wanted to do that. And if you don't know, you're not really going to notice it, but now you're going to notice it. Liberty Square has the Liberty Square Riverboat, which is nice to take a little spin around the rivers of America. And it's just something nice to do. Usually there's not too much of a wait. Once the boat comes back around, you'll have to wait. There's only one boat, so if you get there right after the boat's left, you'll have to wait probably about 20 minutes. But it's just nice to relax. There's not many places to sit down on it though, so you will be standing. But it's something interesting to do and see other parts of the park that you can't really see from anywhere else. There's also the Hall of Presidents, which is currently closed because they're adding the new president in. This is a bunch of animatronic presidents, and it kind of follows through some of the history in America and then goes through all of the presidents. So kids probably usually find it boring. If your kid needs a nap, it's a good spot to go for that. But again, if it was raining or cold outside or hot outside, it's nice and either warm or cold in there depending on the season. It's worth doing at least once though. Headed toward Fantasyland, but still in Liberty Square, is the Haunted Mansion. This ride is a dark ride, and it's an omni-mover, which means that the ride vehicles are always moving. So the wait tends to be not too bad, except for a ton of people like this ride. It's not a haunted house. It's not very scary. Of course, as a kid, I was terrified of everything, so it probably would have scared me. Basically, the premise of it is you're entering this house that's full of 999 happy haunts. There's a really catchy song. I like the song. There's a catchy song that goes with it and everything. There's animatronics and thematic elements. If you're worried that your kiddo might be scared by it, I would watch a ride-through video on YouTube first, just to make sure. But again, it's not meant to be super scary. Next up is Fantasyland, which has a ton of rides. The first ride is Peter Pan's Flight. This ride also always has a really long wait time, and I do not understand it. I know it's a classic ride. You get in a pirate ship shaped vehicle. It's small, it only holds about 2 people. If you have a kid, you could probably fit 3 people, but it also is an omni mover, so they're constantly moving, and you load, you kind of like walk onto it as you're loading. But then you go up into the air and you're flying over London, and you'll see various scenes from the Peter Pan movie. Right across from that is It's a Small World, which is a boat ride and has a very catchy song. I love the song. I know a lot of people hate it, but I love it. It features a bunch of different rooms that have scenes from countries around the world, and you see little dolls that are dressed in attire from around the world, and it's just a classic. It's one of those that you should do at least once, especially if it has a low wait time. We love doing it. It's about an 8-minute boat ride too, so it's nice to just sit and relax. Next is Prince Charming's Regal Carousel. This is a carousel, just like it says. Sometimes the wait times can get really high because it's like iconic. It's right there behind the castle, but it's really fun to ride if there's not a long wait for it.
Enchanted Tales with Belle is a interactive walkthrough of basically the story of the Beauty and the Beast. It's pretty cool. It has some cool effects, and you get to meet Belle at the end. It's not happening right now due to COVID, but it's a really cool storytelling experience of Beauty and the Beast.
Next up is Mickey's PhilharMagic, which I have not seen. I need to, but it is a 4D show where you sit in a theater, and then it has Mickey and friends. Next is Mini Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. I also have not done this ride. Those are the 2 rides in Disney World, the only 2 that I have not done. It is a dark ride where you follow basically a day with Winnie the Pooh and friends. Near that is Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, which is the newest ride in Magic Kingdom. It's a roller coaster. It doesn't go upside down or anything, and it's not super high, but it follows the 7 dwarfs, and you'll see Snow White as well, and it's just a lot of fun. You're in a mine car, and each of the carts sway, so you can kind of get it rocking some, and that just adds when you go around corners and stuff. It makes it really fun. This is another good coaster for kids as well because it's not anything crazy and it has familiar tunes and everything. This ride is super popular and always has long wait times, but it's worth a wait. Can you see her at all? After that is Under the Sea, Journey of the Little Mermaid. This ride is another omni-mover ride. So you're in shells that constantly move. Again, it can fit maybe 2 or 3 people. Are you just exhausted? And this follows the story of the Little Mermaid with animatronics, and you'll see all your favorite Little Mermaid characters, their songs, and it's really cute. Little kids can ride this, infants can ride this, I think, and it's just a really cute ride, especially if you have a kid or an adult that's a big Little Mermaid fan. The last ride that's in Fantasyland is the Mad Tea Party, which is the teacups ride. I'm pretty sure most people know about this ride. You sit in a teacup-shaped vehicle, and then you can spin it around, and it spins around in an area. You can change the speed of it so you can make sure it doesn't spin too much so you don't get sick. Some people just spin it as fast as they can and try to make themselves sick on it. Storybook Circus is the next area I'm going to talk about. It's kind of included in part of Fantasyland. Some people include it in Fantasyland, some people don't. But this is the area that has Dumbo. So Dumbo the Flying Elephant is the iconic Disney World ride. I feel like Disney World ride. You sit in an elephant and it goes up and spins around, and then you can change how high you go and whether it rocks back and forth. It's a very classic ride. There's actually 2 rides that are side by side to lower the wait time since it's a pretty popular ride. Near that is the Barnstormer, which is a kiddie coaster. It probably lasts around 20 or 30 seconds, and it's a very good first coaster. This follows Goofy as he's the great Goofini, and you're on his airplane. So it's a very quick coaster, very mild, but very good for kids. The last land is Tomorrowland. First up is the Tomorrowland Speedway, which are little cars that you sit in and then you drive around on a track. These cars are super hard to steer, but it's really fun for kids because it's basically kind of a chance for them to drive a car. They're also really loud and smell really bad, so everybody kind of is just like, ugh, Tomorrowland Speedway. But if you have a kid that loves like racetracks and cars and stuff, you can definitely do that with them. In Tomorrowland, there's also the Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor, which is a show. It's currently closed due to COVID, but it's a super fun show. It's basically just a bunch of jokes, and they'll make fun of some people in the audience and everything. You can even submit your own joke while you're waiting in line, and they'll tell it during the show if it's good and appropriate. It's just a really fun show. There's also Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin, which is a game. You are in, again, an Omnimover vehicle, and you have a blaster, and you are trying to shoot these markers that have giant Z's for Zurg, and you're competing against the people that are in your ride vehicle. So it's a really fun game, especially if you're competitive. It's a very tame ride, it's good for kids, and it's just a whole lot of fun. Next up is Walt Disney's Carousel of Progress. So this ride is more of a attraction instead of a ride, but it was at the World's Fair. That's why Disney originally built it in some year that I'll put in here. But the ride features a rotating theater. So you sit down in a theater, and then once the scene is over, your seats will actually rotate and the whole theater, the outside of it spins. And so you go to the next scene. So by the time the whole thing's over, you've gone in a complete circle. It's another ride that's good on a cold day or hot day because it is indoors and generally will be warm if it's cold out and cold if it's warm out. It's also good on a rainy day because it's indoors, and it's just a really cool ride to see what technology used to be like and then what they thought it was going to be like now and how that compares to how it actually is now. One of our favorite rides, the People Mover, is technically on the second story of Tomorrowland, and it is just a vehicle that you're in that goes around Tomorrowland and kind of tells you more about Tomorrowland. We love this ride. It's so relaxing. It lasts a few minutes and you basically just kind of get to zip around and people watch from up there, and you go inside Space Mountain, which is pretty cool. Just know if you have kids that are scared of the dark, it is very dark when you go in Space Mountain, but there's no drops or anything on the People Mover. It's all just same level and it doesn't go terribly fast.
Above the People Mover is Astro Orbiters. This ride is similar to Dumbo and the Magic Carpets of Aladdin, except for you're about 3 stories up in Magic Kingdom, and you have to take an elevator to get up to the top, but it's a whole lot of fun. It goes a lot faster than you would think, and you can see a lot of Magic Kingdom from the top.
Probably the most iconic ride in Tomorrowland is Space Mountain. This ride is a roller coaster that's in the dark, so you will not be able to see where you're going. It is awesome. It doesn't actually go that fast. I think it only ends up going like 35 miles an hour, but it feels so much faster because it's in the dark and you can't see where you're going, so it's just so much fun. Also coming to Tomorrowland at some point, Disney hasn't announced an opening date yet, is the Tron Light Cycle coaster. This ride is similar to one that's over at Shanghai Disneyland, and it looks awesome. I'm so excited for this to open. It's a roller coaster and it's gonna be epic. But again, no opening date as of right now. There's also a train that goes around all of Magic Kingdom, and this train has stops in Storybook Circus, Main Street USA, and Frontierland. And you can ride it just to ride it. You could ride it as long as you want. Like, you can just stay on it and ride it all day if you wanted. You can ride it as a means to get from one place to another quickly. Even though, I don't know, depending on when the train came, it might not be quicker than just walking. But it's really cool. There's narration to go along with it, so you can learn things about Magic Kingdom. It is closed right now due to the construction that's happening on Tron, but I'm sure once Tron opens, the train will open it as well. So that was the rides and attractions at Magic Kingdom. I will link a couple Magic Kingdom vlogs down below so you can see some videos just about Magic Kingdom and some ride POVs like I was talking about. Be sure to look out for next week when I do the rides and attractions at Epcot. And if you missed last week's video about just Disney World in general, I will link that here and down below as well. Thank y'all so much for watching. Wear your mask, wash your hands, be safe, and we'll see you later.